And welcome everybody. This is Prophecy in the Spotlight. I'm your host, Brother Dan Gooden. With me is Dr. Charles Hiltebittle. And we are in amazing times. You gotta admit, we are in the final days. Doc, here we are.
Yes, sir.
At the end of all things.
At the end of all things.
And the program this week is going to be very timely.
I think so.
And very important. I told you on the phone on the way over here, I don't think we've ever done a more important show than we're going to do this week, and we won't get it done.
To the times. Yes.
We're going to overlap. We're going to do another show next week on the same topic, because we're not going to get as far as we want to go.
Right.
The global reset is coming. Now, we did a show on that several weeks ago or months ago, but we didn't. I don't think it was as obvious as it is now with what's going on.
It is here.
Yeah. All right. Well, let me say a couple words to the audience before we begin here. You can find us on Facebook. You can also find us on YouTube, which you're watching now. I have a Twitter account, and we're going to have a Parler account soon. You understand things are changing fast. We're being censored. All the conservative voices are being censored. Yes. And we've got to find other places. We're going to check out Rumble. Rumble is a YouTube-like site, a video site. We're going to check that out. We're going to get a Parler account. I already have something started, but I'm not done with it. We'll get on Parler. We'll let you know what those are. Of course, we'll always have this stuff up on the website for you. Make sure you have subscribed to everything, including the button down below on YouTube here. Make sure you've subscribed to this channel. And make sure you find us on Facebook and like the page and these other sites, Parler, Rumble. Once we get on these other sites, you'll want to, because the day's going to come. We're going to be off some of these.
That's right.
We're going to be, probably YouTube's changing fast. Facebook is already a disaster.
Most of the things that I post that are recent concerning the pandemic thing, they've been taken down within minutes.
Yeah, or they put their little fact check thing and partially not true. And people are getting upset. Fox News, we're beginning to spell Fox F-A-U-X instead of F-O-X.
That's right.
Now, Fox has been going downhill for a while.
Yes,
but
they have.
They really, really went down the hole on election night and beyond. Speaking of which, let's talk just a little bit about the election. Since I can't really do this on TV because TV is like a week behind if they're not live, this is going to come out quicker than the TV will. So let me go ahead, and things change so fast, so you got to be careful about doing a show about the election.
Yes.
Because everything
we
could
might
change.
Be like all of the rest of the TV stations.
Yeah. Well, let me say this about Amy Barrett, the Supreme Court Justice that was just put in. And I said this over a week ago. I said this right before the election. Especially election night, I was telling people this. I believe that Judge Amy Barrett is a modern-day Queen Esther.
A lot of parallels.
And let me read just a tad here from the book of Esther, chapter 4. Won't go through the whole story, but Esther was a Jew. Mm-hmm. Her name was changed. I think her name was Hadassah. Mm-hmm. They changed it to a Gentile name just because it wasn't popular to be a Jew in those days. Well,
they changed all of their names, Daniel and all the rest of them. Yes.
And so long story short, Vashti she was summoned to come before the king, and she refused to come. That's another whole story we could share, but so he decided to choose a new queen, and so a lot of the young ladies were brought into the palace, and of course they had a big contest, and he eventually chose Esther to be his queen, and she's a Jew. He didn't know it. And long story short, they're going to kill all of the Jews, and Mr. Haman, a guy named Haman, he hates the Jews with a passion. He makes a decree, and the king signs it unwittingly. The decree of the Medes and the Persians couldn't be changed.
Couldn't be changed.
They set a date for all the Jews to be killed. Well, Mordecai, her uncle, comes and tells her she needs to do something. She says, look, I can't. You can't go in to see the king without being summoned. If you don't hold up that censer, they kill you.
Yeah.
Pretty serious back then.
It was.
And so Remember, he says, look, you're not going to get away with this either. You're a Jew.
That's right.
You'll be killed along with the rest of us. Let me read just a little bit of this. In chapter 4 of Esther. There was one law to put him to death, except to whom the king shall hold out the golden scepter, that he may live. But I have not been called to come in unto the king these 30 days. Now that's Esther speaking. And they told to Mordecai Esther's words. Then Mordecai commanded to answer Esther, think not with thyself that thou shalt escape in the king's house more than all the Jews. In other words, you're going to die with the rest of us. You're a Jew.
Yeah.
For if thou altogether holdest thy peace at this time, then shall their enlargement and deliverance arise to the Jews from another place. Now, I like that.
God's always going to have a deliverer.
What Mordecai is saying is that. He's saying God could use you, but if you refuse, God will choose somebody else.
That's right.
That's a lot of faith on Mordecai. Of course, Mordecai knew the future. He knew the prophecy.
Yes.
He knew they weren't going to get exterminated.
True.
He wasn't sure what was going to stop him.
He didn't know, but
this was a pretty bleak time. I mean, things weren't looking good.
Yes.
And so he says, but thou, and here's the verse, and thou and thy father, this is verse 14, but thou and thy father's house shall be destroyed. And who knoweth whether thou art come unto the kingdom, or whether thou art come to the kingdom for such a time as this?
Yes.
And that's what I've said about the death of Ruth Bader Ginsburg, untimely death. I mean, all of a sudden she was gone just a couple months before the election. Donald Trump appoints or nominates Amy Barrett, and it all happened smoothly. She got in.
For such a time as this.
I think so.
Yes.
I think that this whole election is probably going to come down to the Supreme Court and Judge Amy Barrett, maybe that swing vote to do what's right.
We also need to make sure everybody understands we're not saying that we are Israel,
right?
But the pattern that took place in Israel is a pattern that seems to be following here in America.
And there's principles there.
Yes, the principles.
And
yes.
All right. I'm on record, and I'm taking a chance here, but I'm going to stick to my statement. I made election night. I made this, or the next day when, remember he was way ahead election night till 2:30 in the morning. Everybody went to bed. 4:30 in the morning they dragged out all these ballots, and all of a sudden, Donald Trump was losing big. Yeah. And Fox News called it, which they never should have called Arizona. But I came on the airways the next day and I made it public. I said, I believe Donald Trump is going to be the winner when this is over.
When it's over.
And I think Judge Amy Barrett has a part
to play. It may have a play. And, but...
now this is November, what is today? The 13th. This is Friday the 13th, November 13th, the recording of this. Now this won't air for a couple of days, maybe even 4 days. But I'm going out on a limb again. Yeah. I believe that Donald Trump is going to be the president when this is over.
I'm convinced he won, and you do.
Yeah.
But right now they're recounting by ballots in 3 states. One of those states had 900,000 all of a sudden appeared, and 400,000 of them was switched inside the voting machines.
Yeah.
If you understand a little bit about coding of the codes that put together and how this technology works, it's a very simple thing. You can put it down for A, and it records B.
Yep.
Yep.
And there's a thing called hammer and scorecard.
Yes, that's all a part of it. That's all in the coding.
And I shared that with folks the day before the election. I heard about that. A 3-star retired Air Force general. In fact, he was the number 3 man in the Air Force. I mean, that's how high up he was. I mean, he's no nut. And he was talking about the election that was the next day.
Sure.
He said this hammer scorecard.
Well, the hammer scorecard has already been used. We had a previous president that put all this in force, doing his best to get Netanyahu defeated.
Yeah.
And one of the reasons why Netanyahu never was able to get all he should have been, part of it is because we interfered in their election. Oh, yeah. Hey, interfere. We can blame Russia for it, but I'm here to tell you, we're as guilty as the rest of them in the world.
Yeah. And I know they claimed that it was used in 2016, but it didn't. Something happened. And
they didn't expect the big landslide, so they didn't have the program set for it to switch as many votes.
Yeah.
This time they already could see how many thousands were coming out to the rallies. They knew they were going to have a major swing.
Now, do you think that this can be proved in like
Absolutely.
at the Supreme Court? Is this?
Well, I'm
is
sure
there
it can
be
be
evidence?
I'm sure any computer programmer, give him 15 minutes to sit down and look at the code, and he can tell you how many points it takes for it triggers to here and what happens when it reaches a certain point and it triggers here. It's all set in the code.
Well, this alone would shift the election, just
Absolutely.
the scorecard thing.
Absolutely.
They say that software is in like 28 to 30 states.
Yes.
Of course, they got caught in Michigan. I don't know how they got caught, but I personally think that there was a precinct that was a conservative precinct, but it came up by, they thought it was strange.
When you had 400,000 ballots that didn't have any downline voting at all, only for the president, and all 400,000 of them for one single party, that ought to tell you something's different here. Something's going on.
And there was, of course, they found that 6,000 vote mistake. That was in Michigan. Mm-hmm. And I was wondering, how did they discover that? I think what they realized was this precinct always goes Republican, but this time it didn't. So they did a hand recount, and that's how they found it. They said there were 6,000 votes changed.
Wisconsin, the same thing.
So what they're saying is that's probably happened in maybe 30 states.
Yes.
But that needs to be looked at, and that needs to be dealt with.
And there are individuals on both sides of the party that have investment interest in those companies that design all that.
Yeah, so
the deep state is bigger and deeper than anybody thought.
So we got that. We also have the mail-in ballots, which is a disaster.
The pandemic was used for that purpose and that purpose
Exactly
alone.
Right, and we said that a long time ago.
Yes.
This COVID-19 thing is about the election.
And then when it came time to vote, here in our little town of 9,000 people, it took my daughter-in-law 2.5 hours to get into the courthouse. And when she got in there, they were only allowing 2 people at a time to vote because of COVID, supposedly.
Unbelievable.
And all of it was designed to suppress the vote.
Yeah. And because the vote that was going to win it for Joe Biden was the mail-in ballot.
Well, sure.
And the fraud
and the
with
trickery of the fraud that they already.
Yeah.
They knew this. Why would he stay in the basement all the time? Why wouldn't they not really get out and do anything? They had it planned all along, Doc.
Yeah. I'm convinced of that.
Yeah.
And I think it has to come out. We cannot let election be stolen.
If we do, we have completely lost America.
Yeah.
And that tells us because of prophecy. I personally don't think America is a major player in the end times. You know where I stand on that. Mm-hmm. And if we let this go, we will have become a third world country.
Yeah.
No different than Brazil or Venezuela or anywhere else in the world.
Okay, so tell us what we're going to discuss in this coming week's program.
We're going to talk about the Great Reset. That's the plan of the elites of the world. I think we'll, either this week or next, we'll get to the foundation of where all this really started. And we'll be talking a little bit about how the pandemic at the present time is a factor in what we're going to look at. The Great Reset is really setting the world up for the political stage of the tribulation days, a one world order.
There's a guy named Klaus Schwab.
Oh my.
He started the World Economic Forum.
Yes.
They call it the WEF, 1971. This guy is an extreme globalist, him and his wife.
Every one of them involved in that is.
I just looked at their website. COVID-19 is all over that website.
Yes, it is.
They're using that. And they believe that's going to push.
Yeah, they've even got the year 2024 pegged in the thing.
Yeah,
they're going to carry this thing that far if they can.
Well, they believe that, and we'll get into this in the show, but they believe that this global financial reset is going to happen in January this coming year.
Well, they've moved the Agenda 2030 of the UN up to the 2021.
I think they're counting on
They're counting
Biden.
on Biden.
That's right.
They're counting on Biden. Hey, they're all in a part of the fix.
And I think
Absolutely.
the wrench might be thrown in
It could
this
be.
again, just like it was 4 years ago.
God may give us some more grace.
Yeah.
I don't know. We may have piddled away the last 4 years of grace God gave us and not taken advantage as we should have. But
well, you got to wonder why we didn't deal with this voting issue. How did we ever let them get by with this mail-in ballot thing? But then again, you have to wonder also, did Donald Trump and the administration already have a handle on this?
I think they may have a.
Isn't it
his
strange?
track record seems.
Have you ever seen him so quiet before?
No, out playing golf the other day.
Yeah.
And I thought,
it's almost like he's got this. Don't worry, just be patient. We've got this, and it's all going to be exposed.
And you've heard all kinds of theories out there, watermark things, but hey, each of those mail-in ballots came from the individual states, not from the federal government.
I didn't find any proof about the watermark.
Yeah.
People,
now that would have been
100 of you sent me that.
That would have been that would have been smart, but that would have put the federal government over states' rights, and so. Those ballots, mail-in ballots, they didn't come from the federal government. They came from the states.
Yeah.
And these we're talking about, most of them, especially these 5, they've got Democratic governors, but they have Republican-based leadership underneath them. And so that might be our only hope for saving the Constitution.
Now, we're not there yet, but we'll eventually get to 3 main areas of this reset.
Yes.
And we probably won't get to that this week.
No.
We might, but I doubt it. Financial, social, and political.
Right.
And this is going to be interesting.
We'll enjoy. Yeah, I think the folks will appreciate the information that we want to see.
I'm going to read a few things from the summit they had in June. That's the WEF. That's the World Economic Forum.
Well, they closed it out in the 14th of September this year when they closed it out with their final documents on it.
Yeah,
it's unreal. Yeah.
All right. By the way, I saw this. This is from Fox Business. June 24th is the article by Justin Haskins. You could Google that. Justin Haskins, Fox Business. You can get the exact article that I'm reading here that I printed off. The headline is Al Gore. I don't know how he made it in the headline, but he's
part of the foundation of it all.
Al Gore, UN Secretary General, and others now demanding a great reset of global capitalism.
Yeah.
Not, they're picking on capitalists, not anybody that's not capitalist. So,
how are they going to pay for it without a capitalist economy behind it? But I don't know.
Well, I think this reset, has to do with debt forgiveness. I think.
Oh yeah.
I think they want to reset to start over and everybody be the same.
They've already found some issues that resonates with the majority of the entire world, and of course that's one of them. And wouldn't be too hard to sell particularly a lost individual. Wouldn't be hard to sell them on. Hey, we got a program that'll wipe out all your debts. You owe $30,000. Hey, tomorrow you owe nothing, and we're going to give you this base pay.
Now, obviously, there's got to be a string attached in this somewhere,
sure.
And it's got to lead to the one world order and the.
Yes, that's what it's all about.
The World Bank and the United Nations. Somebody's got to rise up and become the head of it all.
That's why electronic money, so to speak. It's got to come back.
Digital currency.
It's technology already controls all economics.
All right. So this Friday, the show is going to be about that. And let's close out with this, Doc. We got another bill coming up.
Yes, we do.
We are paid all the way to Christmas. In fact, I think we're paid all the way into the first week of January now. So we have another quarter to get to.
Yes.
We got another big payment coming.
Yes.
We got a few folks out there that are supporting us monthly.
We appreciate it too.
Yes, and we've got a few people that every now and then they give us. But I'll tell you what we need. We need a couple of big ones here.
We need a couple of.
We could use a $5,000 giver right now.
Yes.
And a couple of $2,000 or $3,000 givers. We need monthly supporters.
Yes.
And we need a few people who give a good sum every now and then.
We need some folks that God has blessed financially to invest in our ministry to help us on a bigger scale. But we do not negate the fact that we want as many folks, no matter if it's 15, 25, or 100, whatever it is. We want those folks because we want their prayers behind us.
And we're looking for partners.
That's right.
We're looking
to
for
invest in this thing with us.
Investors.
Yeah. It's just like if you were going to invest in the markets here, you expect an increase. Well, the thing about investing in a ministry is you're investing in eternal investments. And when you get to eternity, you're going to have a greater reward on that than any earthly reward would have ever been.
Doc, I was in Maine this past week. I was scrolling and I came upon a show, a national show, a prophecy guy. And I started listening and reading about what he was saying, and I couldn't believe it. I won't give his name, but
yeah.
It just seems like more and more the prophecy world, the TV shows, the podcasts, the YouTube videos, it seems like they're going further and further out there.
The more esoterically, the more on the fringe it is. It seems like that's what some people seem to want.
Sensationalism.
But folks need Bible.
And I got thinking, I said, because sometimes you wonder, why waste the time? We don't get a salary here. We're doing this for nothing.
Right.
And it's a headache. It's a lot of work.
It's a lot more work than people have any idea.
And I thought, man, maybe we ought to just get off of this. But I'm thinking, man, then there'd be nothing.
Then there would be no. I'm sure there are some others that have a true heart, but the majority of them, as you're saying, have become. It's all about the way out there things
it's
rather
monsters,
than Bible-centered.
UFOs and Nephilim and strange stuff that can't be explained. It's almost like it's sci-fi.
It is a sci-fi mentality.
And there needs to be an old-fashioned King James Bible-believing network
Amen.
or a program out there that has what people used to hear years ago.
That's right.
Old-fashioned prophecy.
And that's what we're going to do. As long as the Lord provides, and that's why we're asking folks, we need some folks to help us invest in our ministry.
And you can contact us. My number, if you'd like to talk to me personally, I'm happy to talk to you on the phone. I'll call you. You call me. It doesn't matter. Text. Email me. Go to the website. There's a donate button on the website. You don't even have to talk to anybody. You can donate right there. But if you'd like to talk to us, I understand that. I'd be very happy to speak with you about investing in our ministry here. Listen, if the money don't come in, we just we'll just stay on YouTube.
Yep.
But I personally believe this program, this TV show that's on every week. By the way, we're going to be on twice now. CTN contacted me and said they're going to play our show on beginning December 8th. They're going to play us on Tuesday nights at 11 p.m. Eastern time. As well as our regular 7 p.m. time on Friday on CTN until somebody buys that spot.
They must like our program.
Yeah, so they're going to, I guess they got an opening there.
Because I got a feeling we're the only ones out there in our area of ministry like us.
Yeah. And maybe you don't like us. Maybe you'd rather hear about Nephilim every week. That's fine. But I think there's a crowd out there that likes the old-fashioned Bible.
Well, there's
teaching.
there's a lost crowd that needs gospel, and we try to put the gospel in as well.
Speaking of that, why don't you close us out with a plea for...
The most important thing that a person can know is that they're ready to go to heaven. While we live in time, God has given us the opportunity while in time to prepare ourselves for eternity. We are all an eternal soul. We were born lost because of sin, not God's fault. So God sent His Son to Calvary's cross. He paid the price of sin, but it becomes our individual responsibility of our own free will to receive Christ as our Savior. We can change our destiny from hell to heaven by receiving Christ as our Savior. And I think that this ministry, we do that. We try every week to share the gospel. And I think if we didn't, we would be remiss.
Yes. All right. Appreciate that. All right. On that note, don't forget to watch the show this week. Share this on your platforms, your social media. Tell your friends how to find us. And we'll look forward to hearing from you sometime soon. Okay? So until then, keep your eyes on the skies.